Here?
Just turn it on to record, so I can start recording early.
You don't expect a big thing.
We are hopeful.
Hi, Eleanor. That's my husband, Paul. He's hanging in there.
I'm going to go by.
Yes, he is. How about you?
Before I get to running the meeting, I'm going to go through the first. We'll start with very good.
We do. He and I disagree about it.
We've got a house to buy.
Oh, you really, where do you live? Where? We live.
Frisco Land, yeah, Frisco.
Believe me, the longer we get into this,
Oh, you keep going.
Yeah, there's something right to the left, something to the left.
Hey, what is that break?
Oh, you don't know the story of that? Is that rolled by eye?
I don't know the story.
Oh.
I take the dog for a ride. I know something, but I have a dog. Well, I used to just kind of take, and then all of a sudden I went there and it was this.
6,000 square feet.
6,000 square feet or something.
Well, so the people that bought the land didn't know they were cousins. Why they didn't know they were cousins?
Because they're bad realtors, they're
Well,
realtors.
there's all, and they're assuming. But anyway, they don't have,
they're heavy on the top, that's why.
and they were built.
Yeah, I see, it's like now,
On water.
Why?
And they built a house, they wanted their house to be visited. Their business. And so. Down to me,
I just, yeah, I can't.
So, actually, we're moving. The back end of it is, that's where the back is. Oh, it's, I mean, it's a great building.
I bet the neighbors love that.
And then they have to do there's some of their,
They're attorney, yes, they're
real estate
attorney.
agents, the closing attorney,
It's just so amazing. Oh, they're beautiful houses. And what happened to the house that goes? I think you can probably
They're like really spaced out.
Is it yours?
well, the new ones.
Oh, okay, I haven't seen that.
That was
How are you? Praise the Lord. Subdivided their property.
Yeah.
And they sold it now.
I saw that in the paper, I saw that in the
They've done it, and they've taken this, and the money, you know, Lord knowing about oh, they can't tell that. I said, well, yes, they do. They have a bad building, a bad church. I met him at the council meeting.
Oh, okay.
I did, and I said, "He's going to tell us for a visitor." He says, "I'm going to He's very humble. Well, they told him to. I emailed him. I was on the email chain.
Oh, that was probably me. I mean, if you were.
I emailed and I said, I haven't talked to this guy.
Yeah, right.
And I said, yes.
And so, he, Marty's got that right away in the packing property. And they actually just subdivided that property. The son's got one part of it and the right. And then, oh yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah, right. All these things that go around for a while, she would always walk with the mom. And for a while, now she's walking on this side. We might get to see
I was the second person to go on. I mean, all this stuff was going on, I figured, well, of course it had to be. We don't know. We don't know. They don't tell me on the phone. They say, you're the second. Now, Lisa,
Thank you.
We get a live logo, so that's okay. So then they call
Now we go to the front door.
I don't know why all the good Baptist seats are all full and the other ones are up front. I do want to make note of, we have a celebrity in the crowd. Yeah. Bill, please stand.
Thank you so much. I hope we can use the whole idea of chasing corals to help us make a better world to live in, and especially in our local lives. And I thought maybe now when I stand up in front of city council, they'll listen to me.
And they'll probably ask for your autograph too. Well, we're going to have all the candidates talk, and the format's going to be, we'll give each 3 minutes to introduce themselves, and then we'll give each 15 minutes for questions from you. We'll keep this civil, or I'll just declare you guys out of order. So, see who goes first. Anna, would you pick a number here?
Here, why not?
Joe? Eric, you get the last number. Of all three. One. You get to go first. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Eric Krotz. Born and raised in North Carolina. My wife and I moved to Charleston in end of 2005. Been living here. Lived in West Ashley. Recently moved to Hollywood a couple years ago. We love it here. We've lived in both sides of the country. We've chosen to make this our home. We decided to raise our family here. Currently, I work at Boeing. Started off as a mechanic there, moved up into engineering. My background has always been mechanical. I was a mechanic in the Army. Did 1 year overseas for that. Spent 6 years in the Army Reserves. Decided to get out before moving here. And currently have a bachelor's degree in science and technical management from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. And this is my first time running for office, so I'm sure I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. Politicians. But the only reason I decided to run is because my wife and I love it here, and I want to do my part to make sure it's good for my kids so they can grow up and afford to live here and enjoy it as much as we do. I know it's probably not 3 minutes, but okay, we can go on with questions.
All right. Questions?
Did you say what you were running for?
Charleston County Council.
Oh, gotcha, sorry.
Told you, I'm going to make mistakes.
What do you see are the issues?
I mean, infrastructure, we have a lot of traffic. I mean, it's not just through District 8, it's all of Charleston County. That's something that we need to work on. I guess the infrastructure bank is reconsidering the 526 expansion, so if they agree to that, then that's something we need to work with to get it done as soon as possible. I think that would help with a lot of the congestion going through, not everything, but it would be a huge help with some of the traffic issues we see going through.
So that is a definite yes vote to 526.
As long as it's financially feasible, yes. I don't want to throw more taxes and increase the burden on the taxpayer just to get it done. It needs to be a clear laid out plan with what we already have in place, or I'm not going to support it. I want it.
The longer you wait, the more it costs.
We've been waiting 50 years.
We were just told, I guess we were just told they didn't have the 8 million to do the pitchfork, so I guess my question would be, how would we come up with 300 million to do that?
There was well, before I spit out an idea, I'd rather wait because
Gotcha.
I had looked at it, but I just found out about this a couple days ago, so.
Gotcha, okay.
I wasn't prepared for everything.
Gotcha.
Did you have a question? Which party was I running for? Libertarian Party. Okay.
So as a member of county council, how would you help the county of Charleston prepare for climate change? Rising sea levels and increasing.
Well, I'm not sure how much the council has to do with preparing for that. The biggest would be to make sure that we don't allow any of the local businesses to pollute and damage anything that or that would contribute to global warming. We can only affect our local environment as far as the global pollution that would lead to that, or as far as global warming goes. I would encourage local businesses to stick to the laws put in place to prevent pollution. Then I also look into ideas for the dredging to help prevent water or increase the water coming up the shore or in front of the rivers. I'll be honest with you, that is not a topic I've looked a lot into. It's the county council being able to take an impact on that, but that's more of a world issue. Task.
What do you say sorry, go ahead.
Just to follow up,
Yeah.
don't you think that the global issues begin at local levels?
Yes, and the best way to impact that is to stay focused on our local businesses and manufacturers and make sure that they're adhering to the laws. If every community focused on making sure that local businesses adhere to the laws, it wouldn't be as big of a global issue.
What do you see as the major issues in education in Charleston County?
I think that as far as education, the charter schools have done a lot. I think that some of the public schools should be towards that. But that would be more of a school board issue. Not a lot that the county council can do for that.
Any other questions?
No,
Ma'am?
sorry.
Yes, do you have any ideas on planning to protect our wetland?
I would support protecting the wetlands. I love the outdoors. My children love going outdoors, and anything that we have in place to protect it. The Greenbelt is working to purchase land, preserve it. I'm all for preserving nearby. I love being outside, so any policies we have in place, I would support, and any programs that we got going, excluding increasing taxes to pay for it, is not support. Yes.
Would you actually be in tune to purchasing public land to preserve it for parks, recreation?
Yes. As long as it fits into the budget of the county, yes.
How do you make sure that it does fit?
That's part of the council is to review the budget, and if we should have a program set aside for raising money to purchase that, and that's what we would use it for. I would like to purchase some in every community, so that not just Hollywood, Ravenel, Johns Island, but all parts of Charleston County can enjoy that park, different parks and recreation stuff.
What's your opinion of the Naval Hospital fiasco?
So money pit. I would encourage private business to look into it. A private hospital would do a better job than the government, and they would be able to evaluate whether it's feasibly possible to turn it into an operating hospital that's functioning and can self-sustain itself versus government being involved. Government will just throw money at it, and I want to avoid stuff like that.
Me too.
Do you support the urban growth boundary? And what do you see, what kind of relationships should city and county councils have?
City and county council should work together. it's all the same community. We also have to have understanding of boundaries. You can't, each city shouldn't allow the county to come take care of, fund any of their projects. It should be a group effort. They should be able to provide, just like we're expected to provide funding to cover 526, the state's going to cover the other part. It should be the same way. It's give or take. But I think that we need to work to have strong relations between all the communities instead of trying to make it seem like one's pitted against each other. We don't want one city to feel like it's getting left out while other cities are getting more funding.
Do you support the development of Sam Spit?
Which one? I'm sorry.
Captain Sam Spit, are you familiar with that?
I don't know.
Okay.
We're sitting on a piece of land right here, Berkeley Electric Co-op is about to move.
Okay.
Right? What do you think should be done with this land? It's about 7 acres, I believe, and it's the highest point on John's Island.
Who owns the land?
Berkeley Electric Co-op.
I really think it would be up to them. I mean, if they wanted to donate it to the county so that we could create a park or some sort of function for the county, that would be great.
That would be cool, it's us.
So then it's up to you. Do what you want. I don't think the county has any business dictating what you do with your land.
So that statement you just made, you believe there should be no zoning regulations whatsoever?
No, not that there should be no zoning regulations whatsoever. This is part of the co-op property.
No, I'm away from Berkeley
Okay.
Electric. I'm talking about your statement that the government shouldn't dictate what people do with their land. So does that mean that in a full libertarian sense, you believe that there should be no rules about land use imposed by government?
No. No, there needs to be
Reconcile.
some, I agree. The typical libertarian view, a lot of people have it, there's zero rules. You own it, you can even do what you want with it. To an extent, that makes sense to be private land, but for us to function as a society, there needs to be some guidelines and some rules set in place so that we can keep things functioning properly in order. So yes, we do need some zoning law to keep businesses, so you don't have a house in the middle of a bunch of businesses. You want to keep things organized. So yes, I do agree that we need to have some zoning law.
What would be your view on the hoop stick development that's being discussed on the plan commission in that regard?
I have not fully read through that, so I don't want to make a statement on that.
Kind of going back to global warming and preparations for the city area, the coastal area. But we just went through, almost went through a hurricane, and we found out that there are no shelters in Charleston County that can withstand a Category 3 or higher hurricanes. Don't you think maybe getting some shelters for people that cannot evacuate for one reason or another is a little bit higher priority than building a seawall or preparing for rising sea levels?
Yes.
Because we are going to have a hurricane. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not for 5 more years.
Yeah.
And we need to have something for people.
I would look at the ones that we currently have and look into improving them so they could handle a Category 4 or 5. And we've already got some structures in place. Let's strengthen those and make them so they can handle it, and then look into if we need to expand and have more. Because I agree, there are a lot of people in Charleston County. There's a lot more than there were 10 years ago. And we don't have the structures in place to give them shelter, and not everybody has the ability to evacuate. So I agree, we need to look into that. Yes.
Do you think there should be a hurricane shelter built on John's Island on the highest ground possible?
Did you say this was the highest ground? Well, I mean, if you want to do that with this land, then that's your business. I would think it would be a good idea, but I would support that.
I think that's a good endeavor for the county to we can take on as a, for the public good?
It would definitely, yes, it would be a good one to look into. I would agree with that one. It's, as a libertarian, I'm against spending money, but I'm also for, if it's worth spending the money for, and I think of a hurricane shelter so that people can stay alive during a hurricane, pretty good. Yeah.
So as a libertarian, you're against spending money, and yet you said you were in support of the 526 project, which will cost county taxpayers
Unlike most-
300, 400, 500, 600 million dollars. Nobody has any idea at this point. Can you reconcile those two statements?
I'm good with the return on investment. If the investment brings a good enough return to justify spending the money, then I agree with spending the money. The idea that we can get away with not spending any money at all, that's just not gonna happen. But we have traffic issues that need to be addressed. We have more people showing up every day. So to just say we're not gonna spend money and not fix it would be a horrible idea, it would just make things worse. So yes, I prefer not to spend money, but there's no getting around it. We do need to expand roads. We need to make driving better. We need to make it possible, because at this rate, the roads that we have, if we have a hurricane 5 years from now, you're not gonna be able to get out of here just because of the traffic. I didn't live here during Hugo, but I know a lot of people who did. And back then, traffic was horrible. People couldn't evacuate just because of traffic. So.
At what point would return on investment, at what cost would there be no return on that investment?
That I would have to look at the actual plans that are being put forward. Cost comes down to what the county can afford to budget at the time. So
1 minute.
it comes down to what we can budget in at the time.
Behind you, Phil.
The county greenbelt program is spending millions of dollars to buy conservation easements on property that the public can't access. How do you feel about that?
If people at the county can't access it, I don't understand why we would buy it. That money could be used for property that the county can access. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anna Johnson, your incumbent council member.
Thank you, everyone. I'm Anna Johnson. I'm a native of James Island, where I reside now, and I'm serving on Charleston County Council for District 8. I have been serving for almost 8 years. So my public experience has been with state government mostly, Department of Transportation, education with College of Charleston and Charleston County School System. So I ran for office because I lived in a grassroots community at one time. And I saw that the areas, the grassroots areas, were being left behind. So I ran for office mainly to help build roads in those communities, because a lot of the grassroots community have dirt roads. And people were complaining about not being able to get to their homes with their cars, or even have emergency vehicles coming in. A lot of times when people needed to have that kind of service, the vehicles had to park at the head of the road where the pavement is, and then carry people on stretchers from their homes. So that's why I began to run for office. And I'm running for re-election because there are things that I have started to work on, and some of you probably already know. I'd like to see the completion of I-526. I think that's needed. And I just want to have a nice, sustainable community all over in Charleston County, where people can live, play, work, and go to school. I don't like seeing Charleston County being, one end of the county is beautiful and has everything that you probably want to imagine to have in this area. And we want to brag about Charleston County being beautiful, but we also want to consider the grassroots community. Those people that live in the grassroots community, they deserve to have a nice community as well. So here I am, running again, trying to make some of those things happen. Thank you.
Questions?
In your years on county council, what legislation have you introduced?
Well, I think the first one was the 526 at one time. And
That was being debated way before you ever came on Charleston
yeah,
County
it was
Council.
being debated. And then when it got off of the table, then I came back and put it back on more than once. And the other thing is,
You introduced that legislation.
with the dirt roads, I introduced a policy for us to have the non-standard community roads, and that's what we have right now to help people who didn't have any kind of rights, I guess you could call it, public rights for the roads that they were driving on. So now, those roads have been turned into non-standard community public roads. And so although they're not paved, they are under the community of Charleston County.
And real quick, I just have, for the benefit of the candidates, so they don't get disrupted. If anybody has a cell phone, would you please put it on silent? It's really not fair. It can't be up here talking all of a sudden, ding, 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 okay? So please put your cell phone on silent. Everybody take a minute now, your cell phone's not on silent, please put it on silent.
Can you tell us about your position for building moratorium on John Bible?
For what?
Building moratorium on John Bible?
My position on that for Charleston County?
For, well.
Okay,
for
so I can only
John
talk about
and
Charleston County.
Your position as a.
Yes, for
county.
Charleston County, I don't see that at this time we need a moratorium for Charleston County. And I say that because there are only two pieces of property that would allow for any kind of big apartment complexes. One is on James Island, one is on Johns Island. And they're already zoned for commercial. There are no others according to our planning department. That's what they have explained to me. And so I don't see why we would need to hold the whole entire Charleston County unincorporated areas, because that's the only section that we can, we have control over. To hold all of those other areas in the bay for not being able to build one house.
So you don't think there needs to be any pause because of the issues with infrastructure?
Well, we do have ways of limiting through zoning. We have that.
How's that working so far?
Well, it's been working great because, like I said, we only have two places that can allow for that kind of development. Now, if you're talking about the city of Charleston, that's something I can't answer to that.
Ms. Johnson, I just want to ask, you talked about grassroots and communities. Has there been specific examples where people in the community came to you for help and you feel like you represented them and watched out for them and gave them representation?
Well, I certainly can
Like Solid Gree or these other
I can
businesses?
tell you, Solid Gree is one, and Parker's
Do you
Ferry
feel like you represented them?
is the other.
You listened to them?
Oh, yes, sir.
How about the Naval Hospital? Do you regret that vote?
Well, the Naval Hospital was intended, had great intentions. We intended to try to bring this is a food desert, you know that. And when we tried to purchase, well, we were supposed to be leasing first.
Right.
Because of the building that we have in the city of Charleston, the medical building with Leotis. So we were supposed to move those departments out of that building and then find someplace else. So it started out as county trying to make a place for that particular group of businesses.
All that I don't blame you, all that I don't have an issue with, I just have an issue with the 33 to 35 million dollars.
Oh, okay.
The bailout money for the.
Oh, I can tell you about that, and I'll tell you how I feel about it. It was not the county's intent to purchase the building in the beginning, but some things happened in between that some of you probably don't know about with the contract, and when the contractor was not doing what they had said they would be doing, then the county, we were looking at pulling out. So kind of a back and forth thing between some council members happened that caused us to be on the low side of defending ourselves with getting out of the contract. And as a result, we had to go to court. And when we went to court, then either we were going to spend over $30 million for the building just to pay off the lease that was promised by our contract. And so why pay $30 million for something that you were not going to have anything in your hands for? You were just going to pay off for the lease. So we decided to buy the building. And I don't think now is such a terrible idea, because in owning the building, we have talked about redoing the building or making a new building, and then selling part of the land, and also looking at some parts. I've just introduced the idea of affordable housing could be built on part of that land. So we have a great need for affordable housing. And when you think of affordable housing, you're thinking about what role would the government play. Land is one, money is the other.
You could have bought a lot of land for $35 million and not have to tear it down.
Well,
we can move on. It's probably best.
8 years ago, right here in this room, you came to an event just like this. And I asked you the question where you stood on the 526 project. And you said you were completely against it. You had that on your website. You said that in campaign meetings and newspaper interviews. 2 years later, in December 2012, you cast a deciding vote to proceed with that project. Yesterday in a video with Clinton, Washington, you said that you had always been in favor of 526. Could you help me reconcile?
oh, sure, I certainly can. Let me tell you. I served on the town of James council, which you probably are aware of that. And probably around 1995, we had a discussion about 526. And at that time, we voted on whether we wanted 526 to come to Jamestown. And I supported that. So I had always supported that. Now, there was a time when we were looking at what to do with the plan for 526, whether it would be which of the various plans, and alternative G was one. And I didn't like alternative G just the way it was presented. And here again, some of you might remember that I did introduce the idea of making some changes. And I was satisfied with the changes that was being presented. So therefore, I could support that. But not that I never thought it was going to ever be built, no, sir. Okay.
The government has initiated to build 526. Why haven't county council initiate and go to FEMA to ask for money to help build 526? Because James Island falling for evacuation. That's what it was main purpose for evacuation was through hurricane. Why don't FEMA have pay for 526?
Well, that's something I'll be glad to ask them about.
So having sat on some of these councils and listened to some of these projections about 526, the road would be at capacity within 5 years. It would also increase traffic coming out of the city that would probably increase that traffic burden, and people would use it as an alternative way to get out of the city. So essentially, it would become a loggerhead, just traffic jam, and would bring a tremendous amount of pollution to the Stono River as well as to Johns Island, because roads like that are basically toxic waste dumps. And as far as the evacuation route, it's not getting off the island that's the problem. It's once you get off the island, where do you go? Because you can't go inland. For example, in Floyd, I ended up just outside of Somerville in a church parking lot because it was bumper to bumper everywhere. Because people that come up from Florida and Georgia and here. So the problem really is just too many people. But building 526 will not increase our probability of getting off the island unless we leave early. But my question really is, number one, do you understand that climate change is caused by humans? Number one, do you believe that, or will you accept that?
I'll accept that.
You accept that, okay. Number two, how...
That along with other things, but go ahead.
What have you done to help Charleston County be more resilient to climate change and the kinds of storms that we just saw, which are going to get bigger and possibly more frequent?
Well, I would say to you that I do believe in climate change. But in Charleston County, I mean, we don't have an agency or a department that is dealing with climate change and with the state agencies and the federal agencies that we have. I rely on information that I hear from that, and I want to tell you that I have been studying that a lot because I haven't. And I don't know that in the county we have done any kind of major study with climate change. As far as I know, we haven't. So I would have to rely on information from studies from other agencies like the state agencies or federal agencies and whatever recommendations they may have. Now, our county department has applied for money during the storm with for FEMA, during Matthews and I think Inez, but certainly Matthews, because we had roads that were washed out and flooded at that time. And so they have tried to build those roads back and put drainage in to help sustain some of that if it happens again. But we don't have a department study global change.
Do you think we should have a hurricane shelter on Johns Island?
Well, I understand that we have no shelters that would withstand a hurricane category 4 or 5 in Charleston County. I understand that. So, if you're talking about, am I open to us building something on higher ground somewhere? I don't know if that will be on Johns Island. I really have not heard that yet. We have talked about this after the storm, to look at having shelters in Charleston County that would be substantial, sustaining over a category 3. But we have not gotten to the point where we have said this is the place we should put a shelter in, and we need to do that right now. But do we want to look in it? Yes, we have already discussed that.
Have you given it personal consideration?
Oh, I have. My people in the district lives on the island, of course.
Are you willing to commit half-cent sales tax money, if that's what it takes to make ends meet on 526?
Well, right now we have several things or pots of money that's being looked at. And I think we need to let our staff continue to work on that to find the kind of money that we need, because we don't even know how much money we really need. You know, some people are saying that you need 300 million. When we got the cost for Building 526, I understand that that was very padded. And so now we're here, we got half-cent sales tax from the time before that wasn't completely used up. We've got federal opportunities, state opportunities, so it's a combination of things. So I'm not gonna stand up here and tell you that I know exactly where we're gonna get the money from, because I don't.
1 minute and last question.
At the recent finance committee meeting, you stated that you wanted Maybank to be 4 lanes between Stone River and River Road, which would require cutting down lots of live oaks. Can you elaborate on your position?
Yes, I do believe that Maybank Highway should be a 4-lane road. We were working on the southern pitchfork and the northern pitchfork, and before I came on council, I thought they already had the land for that. They never had the land, they didn't have the land. They still don't have the land for it. So as far as building the the southern part, there is no money allocated for that.
Last question.
But we do have money, we did have money for widening Maybank Highway.
My question though was, can you elaborate your position of cutting down all those trees along Maybank?
Well, I don't know how many trees is needed to be cut down. And we will be hearing that soon. I'm okay for widening the road,
Okay, we live on the island, but most of the children on the island don't know how to swim. Have there been any discussions on either building a pool or an aquatic center?
Well, the county does not build that. You have to talk with the Parks and Recreation. They just, in Hollywood, found some private money and public property to put an aquatic center in Hollywood. So can the county help with purchasing land? We do that. And we've done that for Charleston Parks and Recreation for many projects. So they probably have land over here where that could happen. In fact, the city does have it. Pardon me?
I said there probably should be some land or some space in that park.
The city park?
Yes.
Right, but so the county doesn't build, put money towards the aquatic center building.
Thank you.
Swimming pools.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming out and taking the time out of your busy day to be here. It means a lot to all of us to have y'all here asking good questions. My name is Joe Boykin. I'm running for Charleston County Council District 8. I'm the Republican nominee. I live right here on Chisholm Road. I'm here with my wife Lisa. Where are you? Right over there in the back. My work husband, Abe, is right next to her. Our family lives on an old family farm on Chisholm Road. Been here a long, long time. I've spent most of my life in the Low Country. I was raised in Camden, South Carolina, but I spent all my summers, 3 months of the year, every year, down on Edisto Island, Edisto Beach. I'm a Low Country kid. My wife says I can't claim it, but I do. No question where I was going to come when it was my choice. I'm a graduate of the University of South Carolina in criminal justice. I came here right out of college because this was home. In 1988, I was a newly minted Charleston County policeman. I served all of District 8 as a patrol officer, worked all of Ravenna, Hollywood, even Johns Island to an extent. Did 4 years there. My last year I was a detective. I was here for Hurricane Hugo. Wrote it out in the fire department right there in Ravenna. Chainsaw people out of driveways. A tree fell through my windjammer apartments over here on San Rittenberg. I know about hurricanes. After 4 years with the county, I moved on and I became a federal agent with the United States Department of Justice, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Did a little bit of everything there, mainly violent crime. Did a lot of undercover. I was in the enhanced undercover program for ATF. I was a certified explosive specialist. Probably the things that mean the most here is I was here for the Charleston 9 the Soap Superstore fire. I was the case agent on that investigation, ran the entire thing. Actually was the one that got the interview of the person who unintentionally set that fire. We were able to get closure for those firefighters' families. I also worked a sensational case involving a downtown banker named Chris Latham. It was featured on NBC Dateline. It was called the Charleston Affair. He hired hitmen from Louisville, Kentucky, and we took him down and stopped the murder from happening here in Charleston. So if you want some, waste some time, watch that. Also was involved with a recreation of U.S. Hunley sinking and set up C4 charges to reenact the explosion. Satanic to try to determine the effects on the sub and see if that was the cause that sank it. Right before I retired, I had the last big thing that happened, and that was the Manual 9 church shooting. I was involved to that and was there all night working with my brothers and sisters in law enforcement until the next morning when Mr. Ruth was found and apprehended up in North Carolina. Probably one of the toughest things I've ever done in my life. This is home. I love this place, and I've served my country for 27 years. I'm retired, I'm 52 years young. I thought I was done with public service. I got involved in some zoning issues here on Johns Island. We live on a family farm, as I said, on Chisholm Road. They were trying to put a party farm literally right in the middle of rural Johns Island. That party farm was 150 events, outdoor, 500 people. It just didn't fit. It was essentially spot zoning. I've never been political in my life, but when you come to my doorstep, I'm going to fight back.
Questions?
Thank you for that. Another neighbor.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
How do you see yourself continuing to work with the city council in terms of how that affects Johnson Monroe?
Okay, I got a lot of things to say, and I'll try to answer your question directly. The biggest thing I see right now is the right hand and left hand not knowing what the other's doing. I see dysfunctionality between the city and county governments everywhere you look, whether it be zoning, whether it be roads and bridges, traffic. I have introduced myself and got acquainted with many of the members that are sitting on Charleston County Council now. I've got a good relationship with them. I see a lot of opportunities, forming coalitions with them to try to have some symmetry between the county and the city, with zoning especially, these overlay districts and things that are going on right now. The biggest problem we've got right now is both the city and the county have to come together and change their building practices. And that's all zoning related. This fill and bill has got to stop.
Amen.
We need to change our zoning laws to stop being able to take and fill 3-4 feet high for people to build at base elevation. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Go right down here to the battery, I can't remember, the Wilkes battery right down here. Just right back and look at the wells around the live oak trees and look how it drops off. They're built in flood basins. Zoning can fix all that. The roads are another issue. I just have to laugh at this. The county builds roads. They fund all the money. We have to get the city's permission if it goes through the city. The city wants to put a roundabout up at Chisholm Road and River Road and Main Road, but they're going to 4-lane that. Two different entities work in two different directions and yet not together. I was at a growth management committee, the last one they had at Hawk Gap. We had no county council representation there. Mayor Tecklenburg was there, and he said, well, you know, we did a flood plan for Johns Island, we did a flood study. And they were putting out that the city was going to go it alone. Where's the county? Where is the partnership? You know, 82% of Johns Island is in unincorporated Charleston County for the most part, outside the urban growth boundary. We've got to get together, we've got to work. These folks got to break out and sit down. The staffs have to come together and work, so that's where it starts.
How would you do that?
Me? Well, there's these funny rules about like shadow government and all that, so you can only have so many members of one council or another together at one place at one time. I think you work within that, make it public. If we have to make it public so we can get around that, then let's have a joint session of city and county council, or at least portions thereof with the committees, and let's start working this out because they're intertwined. There's no separating this. So I think you start out, a couple of council members sitting down together, getting a sense of direction, staffs meeting, and get a consensus, start moving forward. But the big thing I want to say on that line is we've got to get a codification of urban growth boundary. Period. In the story. The city and county needs to be written in law and have the force of law. It's just an agreement right now. And so it can get moved. So that's something that if I get on county council, I'm going to work towards right now is to get it put as a law.
Joe, for I guess 40, 50 years now, county council has become a cesspool of incompetence and lies. We have been lied to, we have been cheated, we have not been represented. Where will we get accountability? Where will we get things done? Where, all of this incompetence, you just can't make this stuff up when you go to these meetings. And meanwhile, we suffer. We live in third world conditions on this island because we can't get anywhere. If you can't talk to Big Raw, you can't talk to Brantley Moody. It's just one lie after another. Where will we get the truth, the accountability? We heard they didn't have the $8 million for the pitchfork. Now they say they have $300 million for 526. What is the truth? Where, and would you support a SLED investigation in this naval hospital?
Oh boy. As a federal agent, I did have a chance to work on a public corruption case or two, and
there's one right there.
The bottom line is, a tiger doesn't change the stripes, and once a lawman, always a lawman. I'm still commissioned as a lawman, as a state constable. I don't put up with breaking the law. I don't put up with misfeasance, malfeasance. I don't have time not to go into all this. I've studied the Naval Hospital. There are so many ways that went wrong. There's so many red flags. One of the things, and yes, the answer is yes, I will support an investigation. If there is evidence that a crime has been committed, absolutely. I'm tied in with Low Country SLED's office. The captain is a good friend of mine. I have a speed dial to the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office. My God, I spend enough time in federal court to own it. But back to the point, we've got to talk about the Naval Hospital. Due diligence. I talked to Councilman Schweers the other day of when the county gets involved, about a 25-year lease with millions of dollars involved, how do you not have some entity impartial to all this to go do the due diligence? Not depend on county staff, but go out and turn over the rocks. You'd have found the bankruptcies. You'd have found all the failed business practices. You'd have found that it didn't appear to be what it was. You got Mr. Trump Jr. here, that everybody's excited and enamored with him. But suddenly he was a 15%, 10%, minority partner. I kind of feel like they got glossy-eyed and said, man, this looks great, let's do this. There's also the whole thing that was going on about trying to move all this to North Charleston to revitalize a blighted area. They didn't see the forest for the trees. And that's where they are right now. County Council has bought you a $34 million hospital they can't even sell for $5 million. How, right, it should be criminal. And, my point is due diligence. As an ATF agent, we didn't just run off reckless on our investigations that I was part of. We studied, we did all our work, we took our time, we had a goal, we dotted all our I's, crossed all our T's. And County Council has the time, they have the money, they have the staff, and they need to employ all of that. Thank you.
Should you be elected to council with your law enforcement background, would you utilize Charleston County Sheriff's Office deputies to threaten citizens with arrest for attending public meetings or trying to speak out?
Well, I will give you my word that y'all can bite, chew, and eat me if necessary, and I will not call the police. I'm certainly not thin-skinned. My gosh, all this time I've been out there, dealing with folks. I can take it, and no, you can bring your best questions, your harshest criticism, and I will take all of it. No, sir, I will not do that.
Henry?
Sorry.
You talked about the pitchfork. I think it's southern, one behind Food Line.
Yes, sir.
The developer donated, right away for $1. And we had a chance working with Jimmy Kerr, and the county fell through on that. And so we come up and build a pitchfork. We're still going to slow this traffic down. We're still going to have to put 3 traffic lights up, and that's just going to slow the traffic even worse.
My response to that is, had Maybank been 4-lane as intended, safeguard as many trees as we can by building around it. The road doesn't have to be together. You can split it and move it around. We see it everywhere. Surely an engineer could have figured that out. Somebody's way smarter than me. The problem now is because they built it 3 lanes, it's gonna cost a whole lot of money now to go back and try to make 4. It's not even feasible, from what I've heard talking to folks. I mean, way more they spend. The pitchforks could work if they're done right, and this is where I'm getting to, what do you want Johns Island to look like? How many roads do you want swooping and going? My attitude about the pitchfork, or let's talk the southern pitchfork first, the one that's going down towards Kiowa. If you're coming from James Island and you come across the bridge, if you put a traffic light there, now you stop all the traffic that you just pushed down from River and Maple. It doesn't make any sense. You're gonna have to do some type of overpass where that right-hand lane goes up and over, so we don't stop traffic, it keeps moving, if that's what the goal is. One-way directions. Just think of, if you're gonna go right to the northern pitchfork, make it one way so that traffic's just going that direction, and it's got a merge lane and it keeps on going, if that's the point of it. It does no good to put all these intersections, all these grid roads, if all you do is create more points for traffic to be impeded, stop and start again, because we all know what that's like. Sorry. Next question. Yes, ma'am.
Is there any studies done in terms of public transportation? So Johns Island could get a bus to go downtown, or MUSC could be able to get a shuttle like they have on James Island, which, would cut down on some of the traffic.
What I've seen, and again, remember, I'm new to politics. This is my first learning, so I don't have all the answers, and a lot of it's just opinion, and they may not be right. It seems like there's such a rush to make one size fit all. We're going to put in this bus service, and it's going to be all this, and then we don't have the ridership. Why can't we do things in baby steps and start a trial period and get a bus over here? If it gets filled up, get 2 buses, and do this in stages where we don't put a lot of taxpayers' money into something that, it's not you build it, they will come. But yes, I agree we need a bus to go back and forth. If there is a need, there's ridership, let's get it going. Same thing with the rapid transit, with the buses coming from Somerville down to Charleston. Again, start with a few and let's build it up. And I don't believe in throwing a bunch of money at something and hoping it works. I'm sorry, back here. Yes, sir.
So, Joe, what's your position on climate change, and how would you help build resilience into Charleston County?
Well, there's a lot of ways. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the recycling center we've got going. I think that's a key part of not pushing that all in the landfill and recycling those goods. Emissions, when they got rid of the incinerator, that did a lot of good right there off the bat. We don't have to deal with that anymore. The other thing is our zoning, clear cutting. It shouldn't be a building practice to go in and clear cut. As you and I discussed, trees are vital. And there are filters, they do all the stuff with our water, our inundation, flooding. It goes on and on. Obviously, I'm for alternative modes of transportation. I like the bike lanes, I like the greenways, I like the idea of having housing near employment so we don't have people have to commute so far. There are many things. I don't have all those answers because I haven't studied it in depth yet, but the county certainly has the ability with zoning and building practices and recycling to play a big part. Yes, sir.
To let you and the folks at Lawrence know that we were talking about the bus, they actually did about roughly 10 years ago try to run a bus system out here, and the ridership was
nothing.
Okay. That's why we don't have something.
But I will say, I agree, yes, the population has grown immensely, so maybe it's time to give it another go, but not, I'm saying not go all in. Let's, they got enough money, they can do trials, and that's how you learn. You gotta try it out, see if it works. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I went to a meeting at St. John's School, they were talking about the whole road system and stuff. The question was asked, on one section of road, how much money did they have? And the answer was, X millions of dollars. Then the question was asked, well, how much it's gonna cost? And they said, the amount of money that was available. Now we know that's not true.
What I will tell you, I'm sorry, you got order?
Well, no, I'm just, it's just the fact that we get fed basically the party line on these costs. Same thing with 526, right? We got an estimate. The state says we're not going to put any more road mileage into the maintenance system, so that means the county is going to have to pick that up, right?
Yes.
They're going to be responsible for any cost overruns or legal fees. So the And
All
that's
that's
all
correct. Yes, sir.
open-ended. So basically, nobody knows what this thing is gonna cost.
You're right, you're exactly right. And I guess to try to wrap that thought up, and Ms. Johnson alluded to it, they do have estimates. They're only estimates. That's all they are. They're based on anticipated costs and so forth. I will tell you, and it doesn't mean this is right, I'm just repeating what I've spoken to some of Charleston County's transportation officials, and I've heard that some of the people they have spoken to informally said the road might be built as cheap as $500 million, but it could be more than $725 million. They're all over the place. We won't really know the figure for that road until they have a request for bids and we start getting real numbers brought in. So everything right now is fluff.
Ma'am?
Yes, sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ms.
I understand that you and everyone else here tonight who are on council are concerned or in support of I-526.
Yes, ma'am.
My concern has been for the last 2+ decades that it goes nowhere. It deads in. On the way the interstate, the 3-digit numbers are put together, it normally circles around a main interstate, and it is an exchange. My concern is this goes nowhere. It's not they've been using the terminology 526 to get federal money. I know that's what that was about. But it started out as the Marquardt Expressway, as an expressway where both ends do not connect. It's not 526 as far as it's possible. Now, what I see, my concern is right now it deads in at Courtney and Calhoun. How do you connect people to anywhere? It does not connect with I-26, and what I can see, it's not feasible to build a bridge or a connector that stops on the middle of everything. It doesn't come together.
Do you have a question, ma'am?
That is my question. What is your opinion of that? There is no connection.
I'm going to answer this best I know how. Part of this is semantics. Interstate, parkway, expressway. What you really have is an interstate that's slowly reducing itself to a parkway. It's going to be a 45-mile-an-hour, 35-mile parkway. It's really not going to be. It's not going to be an interstate. Marquardt's going to stop at some point, and the parkway is going to start. I disagree that all that traffic is going to dump out on Calhoun for a lot of reasons. All these exits, these people aren't all going down to Calhoun Street. They're going many other places. So as that flow gets down to the terminus, if you want to call that Calhoun Street, a lot of those folks are going to pull off on James Island, Johns Island, Folly Beach. A lot of other folks are going to be using it that way. A lot of folks from downtown are going to be riding it out the other way, and it's going to stop the same issue you're talking about, which is really the end of Expressway at 17, which is sending traffic north and south on another major artery, and then they all got to go across Johns, South Windermere, James Island to get where they're going. So that's really, if it's done in a proper way, I think it can work, with these other road projects.
Thank you. Thank you. We have 2 more offices tonight. I think we only have 1 representative from each office. Judge Condon?
Yes. Thank you. Good evening. Herb Condon.
The way we're doing this is you get 3 minutes to introduce yourselves and 15 minutes.
Okay, fair enough. 3 minutes. Herb Condon, probate judge, attorney, CPA. Appreciate your vote on November the 7th. I've been your judge for 24 years. I've been out here doing estate planning workshops, and my theme is that we've made Charleston County a national model of excellence. And let me tell you how. We've created programs to help our citizens. The first was an adult drug court, went down to Miami, and we've created that to give people a second chance. And you're welcome to come visit. That's on Wednesday. Second, we went to Seattle, not Boeing. We went there to get a mental health court. And we're helping our homeless and those that need help. Judge Tamara Curry runs that. That's another excellent judge. She's at another function with me tonight. She's African American, and she is the first African American president of the National College of Probate Judges. And we've been together 21 years, and we're running together. You'll need to split your vote. I'm running as a Republican. I have to pick a side. A judge does nothing partisan except during election time. You got to pick a side and run. And I've got bipartisan support from Mayor Riley to Mayor Summey, you name it, and we've got that support. The other thing that I've done is we're getting ready to start a Veterans Treatment Court. And I brought on Judge Peter Cooten. He's a Marine veteran trying to help our vets as they come back home, keep them out of the criminal justice system. He's also a Johns Island resident. I grew up West Ashley. I'm one of 10 kids. I went to Bishop England, the College of Charleston, Clemson, and the University of South Carolina. What else have we done? We were the first of one of 2 counties in the country to be selected by the American Bar Association to do a visitors program. We partnered with the Charleston School of Law. We're a pilot project for that. The second, we were just selected by the National Center for State Courts, one of 2 counties in the country, our county in Detroit, to partner and to do a pilot project on the Rapid Response Conservatorship Project. I welcome you to come see our court. We're the one that touches everyone. If you've probated in the state, you've come through and seen how we try to help people there. First estate I probated was my dad's estate, so I know it's difficult going through there, and we're there to help families. I give seminars on probate and estate planning, the 10 documents you need. Everybody needs to have a will, healthcare power of attorney, business power of attorney. My opponent is a non-lawyer. She cannot talk on those things. I've got schooling on that. We've got 3 associate judges, all are attorneys, all are legally trained. And I think that's necessary in today's world on your probate court. What else have we done? We've been there to help people. We do marriage licenses. We do 5,000 of those a year. And we do guardianships and conservatorships. We've got about 1,000 cases open. Clearly, probably $90 to $100 million that comes through our court. Big money, and we've got to protect that and protect our seniors. And I know how it is dealing with the senior. My mom was 92, getting ready to be 93, November the 12th. And we're trying to help her. And she stayed in her place. We all take a night each to take a week every rotation. And we've got sitters during the day. So I know it's difficult aging in this population. And I know y'all have experienced growth. I bought my parents' house, which is by the In-N-Out Car Wash. Y'all know where that is, by the Round Holiday Inn. They moved from downtown. People laughed at them for moving that far up the country. Consider the country. I'll be happy to take any questions. I'm going to ask a question. Yes, sir.
What's partisan about being a probate judge?
Only when you run, and it's helps the local parties. I don't do anything. I've ruled against people from both sides. I call balls and strikes, so I call there shouldn't be partisan. You're right. And that's one reason I have opposition. The county has switched from Republican to Democratic, and that's why I've got to get independent and Democratic vote. And it should be. And I've got Tamara Curry's lifelong Democrat. I'm a life, so it shouldn't be party. You're right on point. Yes, sir.
What about Ayers property? Have you done anything?
Yeah, we have done. Yes. In fact, just talked to the Ayers property the other day. We have an annual seminar that we do at the Mills House, and they're going to be part of that speaking. Judge Tamara Curry has been on their board, and I go to their annual function, and we are trying to help Ayers property. Ayers property is we looked at the Emmanuel 9 when they all passed. We did an estate workshop for them. I went, which was, you think about it, shortly after that shooting, they showed love conquers hate. Imagine going to a room where I'm the white guy coming in there, it's all African American. But they trusted me there. They knew Commons Department Store and that we treat everybody fairly, and they were able to take the information I gave them and walk them through that. Before that, I'd worked with firefighters, Charleston 9, and firefighters, ironically, they were the ones that would not get wills. They're running into burning buildings, but they thought it was bad luck to get a will. And so we tried to change that to make sure that they do their will, do their estate plan. But for Ayers property, Reverend Clemente Pinckney, one of the best things that he did was he passed a law that has a right of first refusal by our heirs. And that's one of his lasting areas in probate law, that if an heir tries to sell somebody out of state or a developer, the other heirs have a right to buy. And we help families. There's 2 ways to clear up heirs property. It's either probating the estates in probate court, but if you've got 10 or 12 estates to probate, sometimes it's easier to go over to the master in equity and do a quiet title action. So we help the families there. I work with Josh Walden, Jenny Stevens over at the Center for Heirs Property. They're located west of the Ashley, and they're a great resource. They started just in Charleston County, but in my time, they've spread, from the whole coastal area. And now they're helping heirs with farmland. But I'm glad you brought that question up. We are trying to help heirs. And Josh Walden, the others will help you there. Yes, sir.
I have a question that may be outside of your area of expertise, but what we're seeing is developments are being built and they infill it. And then they'll build, and the infilling makes that development higher than the surrounding property. So the water floods off of that area and floods the surrounding property. Then another development comes in and builds a higher development and a higher development. So the last development floods successive developments. Now, it seems to me that that's building deleterious property. It seems to me that you're building something that is going to harm somebody else.
Yeah.
How is it that that's not illegal?
Well, that would have to be brought to court, but that's not in my bailiwick. That is for these legislators. Judicial, but I'm with you there. I mean, and I'm against, I live on a lake that connects to the Ashley River. And Irma, I can show you some video, it just flooded, and everything out of that marsh came into my backyard and other backyards. And I just am against plastics now. Plastics were everywhere, it's just amazing. But I'm with you, but it's not for a judge to be making that. And if it's a case that comes, I don't know how that would come to a probate judge, a state way. It may end up in our master.
Why isn't it illegal? That was the question.
Why isn't it illegal?
Because somebody is doing something to harm somebody else.
That, I would have you talk to legal counsel, right? And if somebody does something on their land that harms somebody else, it could be, I'll defer to the attorneys on that. Yes, sir.
Judge Condon, thanks for coming out. Sounds like from your introduction that you got all the schools covered. Clemson, USC.
And I took my LSAT at Furman's. I got that there. Actually, I'm a big Notre Dame fan, and the money ran out when I was the 7th of 10 kids. I had to stay in state. His mom taught me English, so Canada taught me English, and I used to cut to their yard to go to school at Pleasant Sac. And my, sure. Any other questions?
How did you say you helped find wills?
We did will clinics. So we got with the Charleston School of Law and make sure that first responders, not just firemen, but the police officers, EMS workers, that we do will clinics, free wills for those to make sure that they get their estate planning done.
Can I find out when the next meeting would be?
We can. I've got workshops that we do, and that's the first Monday of each month. The next one will be November the 5th. And I'm also going over to, I just spoke at the James Island Senior Center, and we'll be in North Charleston. They have 2 senior centers. And I'm happy to come out here and do a seminar and explain that to you. And then we partner with the Charleston School of Law.
I attended one of these meetings. So this meeting would be held, the monthly meeting, should say.
The monthly meetings are down at the historic courthouse at the Four Corners of Law on the 2nd floor, 10 o'clock the first Monday of each month. And I'll give you one of my cards, and others, I've got some other cards, if anybody wants a card, but I've got my direct dial number's on there, my cell number's on there, call me anytime. We also do civil commitments, involuntary commitments for alcohol and drug and mental illness. Got a call last night, 3 in the morning. Somebody needed, family needed help. So if you get, it affects all of our families, alcohol, drug, mental illness. If they won't get care, won't get treatment before they are picked up, they have to have a judge make sure that it's not something that they shouldn't be picked up for. But we do those. Judge Cooten goes to the Palmetto Hospital, we go to the VA, and we go to the Institute of Psychiatry. It's easier for the judge and one clerk to go over than to shackle our family members and bring them downtown. So we go out to the community, and we go out and try to help people. Yes, sir.
Yeah, your opponent is not an attorney. I don't believe she has a law degree. Do you feel that you are more of an administrator or more of an attorney in your position? Which you feel is more important to have?
More of an attorney and a CPA. You need to have both. How many of y'all are graduated high school? Okay, who's registered to vote? All of y'all can run for probate judge. Please don't let me. This is South Carolina. We're talking about the other laws. Okay. Can you do the job? I don't think so. I'm reminded of that commercial. The guy's talking to the doctor. He says cut 2 inches below the sternum, and he's trying to walk him through surgery. And if I were to fix my car, I'd be like my roommate. I'd fix it, but I'd break something else. Yes, sir.
I'm a licensed social worker with the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. I formerly worked for the Department of Social Services. So I have spent a lot of time with the mental health community. I'm actually a licensed therapist, licensed social worker. How will you work with veterans? I work with veterans and veteran families every day. How will you work with them to eradicate a lot of the issues like suicide among the veteran community?
We are starting this Veterans Treatment Court, but also in the civil commitments, we've worked with our veterans. And then currently in our drug court, we have a track for veterans. And I'll ask Judge Coogan, he's a Marine veteran. We appreciate his service and any other veterans we have in here. We appreciate your service. The work that he's doing with the Veterans Court, maybe just quickly.
Well, I'm glad you asked because, and I'm recording this for the clerk of court, so we'll get some audio instead for a little while. The Veterans Court is long coming. We have one of the greatest VA hospitals. You hear all these things about VA hospitals around the country. It is not here. We have a great VA hospital here. We have a VJL. They interface with those veterans who become what we call justice involved, right? And what we're trying to do is not have them get justice involved for so many times that they're not eligible for any intervening court. And so the Veterans Treatment Court will get a justice involved veteran, whether it's an honorable discharge all the way down to a bad conduct discharge. Judge Condon and the solicitor have opened the court up. There's a lot of models. We have the broadest model in Charleston County. We have 5 guys, and we're not counting out girls. There's a lot of girls served in the military, and we take all comers. We take all offenses. We sit in staffing and determine whether this veteran can benefit from the treatment, whether it's PTSD, TBI, alcohol, drugs. A lot of times it's a combination of all of that. We get them in, they understand the chain of command, they understand a lot of things, and if it wasn't something that worked for them, we wouldn't separate them in the jails. We wouldn't have them in their own groups where they can go back to where they were and understand that they're responsible. And so that's a great starting point. Maybe you're someone who can help us at the court. I'll give you my card. There should be an e-blast going out through the VA hospital looking for mentors. We have a mentors meeting next Wednesday. It's shown that veterans respond better to other veterans. We're getting a group of mentors. The program will go probably within the next 6 weeks. We'll start with a new guy or girl, and 6 will transfer, 5 will transfer from the drug court. So we're very excited about it, and I'd like to talk to you about it more. Also on the website, if you do want to be a mentor, go to the probate court website under specialty courts, veterans court. It'll give you a blurb about that. You can download the mentor guide and the mentor application. All right, thanks.
And we went to Buffalo, New York to get that. That's the Robert Russell started the first Veterans Court up there. And they're all a shoot off from the drug court that started down in Miami. We brought Judge Goldstein here in Charleston to start the adult drug court. Yes.
What do you do for children? Is your court involved in children?
We do a juvenile drug court, and that was in family court. Judge Seegers Andrews retired and asked myself and Judge Perry to take that over. We do have a juvenile drug court. Our issue now is trying to get individuals in there because our defense attorneys would rather just have them on probation and let them skate through, and then they end up being problems in adults. And so we've been working on that. And I've been frustrated in that regard because we have a great program, and you're welcome to come see that. That's Mondays at 4:45. And we're trying to help keep individuals in high school or continuing to get their GED or technical training. Yeah, the last 120 days, I've been to 3 funerals, one for a 16-year-old, jumped off, took LSD, that's a 60, came back, the synthetics are just incredible out there. Jumped off the Holiday Inn over at Folly. Went to a 19-year-old that died of fentanyl the same week that his sister was graduating with honors from Clemson. Think about that in the same environment. And then I went to a 39-year-old that also passed. So that's what we're trying to eradicate. It's in the community. And it was crack cocaine, now it's all these synthetic drugs, and they're ahead of our drug testing. And we're trying to make sure that we can test for them and catch.
Is there anything you could bring to the schools, especially the high schools, to help hit this before it gets too out of control out there? Is there anything y'all could do, clinics and presentations and that kind of action in our schools? We talk about doing clinics for all these other things. I'm just wondering if
We're happy to, and I know the superintendent's trying to work on that. Each of the schools are. The problem we have is that when somebody starts failing up, then they kick them out, and I don't know where they expect them to go other than to cause more trouble. And so that's what we're trying to catch them before that happens. Otherwise, I almost feel like we need to reserve a spot for them in the adult drug court, because that's where they're going to be next. So I'm glad to talk to you about that, and if you can help us get the public defender on board, that'd be helpful.
Does Charleston County have schools for when kids are expelled? Do they have a school for kids that have been expelled?
They do, and I don't think I have any school boards here, but they could talk to that, yeah. I don't want to get accused of passing the buck again. Like
I can totally.
that. 1 minute. I got 1 minute. Yes, ma'am.
Are you looking to add headcount or technology so that we can get probate issues through the courts quicker? Because sometimes those things can drag out like forever.
Generally, we've got the top 5% in probate law. We may be 49th in education, but we've got a very clear uniform probate code and the uniform trust code. I welcome you to come to my seminars. And as stated, it's under $25,000, no real estate can be open and closed on the same day, 30 days from somebody passing. Our probates generally take 9 to 10 months. Our state legislature shows a creditor's period of 8 months. Some states are a year, some states are 4 months. We happen to be 8 months. And so we've got the best law there. The technology, we do have latest technology, and we are doing this rapid response conservatorship project with the National Center of State Courts, and we're one of 2 counties in the country piloting that. So we do have the technology there. It's the state law that mandates that we take this time in doing that. The other area that you can help us, particularly for our heirs property, if you do not probate in the state within 10 years, you don't file a will within 10 years, it's as if you died intestate. And so we have to have a determination of heirs. But we're there to help you. We've got 5 estate clerks. I've got 1 that's been there, 2 that have been there 34 years. I've got 1 that joined me 24 years ago, known him for 26 years. We've got some very experienced estate clerks, and they can walk you through. And that's why I need your vote to stay there. And so I do appreciate your consideration.
This is the register of deeds.
Last but not least.
Register of Deeds. Many of you probably don't know what the Register of Deeds is. My name's Tom Hartnett. I'm a local Charlestonian. I'm a real estate appraiser and a realtor. I grew up in a political family, but I am not a politician. I am running for Register of Deeds. Register of Deeds is it's more of a clerical or reporting office. It's where all of your property records are kept, where they're stored. It's where your deeds are kept, where your mortgages are kept, where your plats are kept, where UCC liens, where mechanics liens are kept, where tax liens can be found. It's a vital office to the county. As I said, not many of you have heard of it, unless you have had to deal with the Register of Deeds office, needed them. If you've bought or sold property in Charleston County, you have dealt with them, you may not realize it. But it's an essential office for the county. It is the primary records office for all of our property records. When you buy and sell a home, your deed is recorded. You want to make sure that that deed is accurate. You want to make sure that deed is properly recorded, because that's the record of your property. If you don't have accurate property records, you could run into issues further on down the line where somebody could come in and say, well, they missed something. And a title abstractor missed something.
something wasn't recorded. You're on my property. You may say, well, I bought this, I have the deed recorded. If it wasn't all recorded properly, or the history wasn't properly searched before the transfer, you could run yourselves into a lot of trouble, into a lot of trouble. As I said, I'm a real estate appraiser and a realtor. I've been a regular user, an outside user of the Register of Deeds office for years. I understand the office, the functions of the office. I don't know it from the inside out, but I do know it from the outside in. And I've seen the strengths and the weaknesses of the office over the years. I've seen vast improvements made in the office under Mr. Lybrand's administration. But as with everything, there's still room for improvement. I don't want to bore you on the minutia of what I would like to do with the office. A lot of it has to do with interconnectivity of computer systems, where if you're not a regular user, you wouldn't understand that. Happy to try and explain it to anybody if they want to get into technical terms. The office, the Register of Deeds office currently does not take electronic payments. When you go to record your deed or your mortgage, you gotta have you gotta have cash, or you better have a check. We'd like to look at taking electronic payments. I'd like to look into doing electronic recording of the deeds of mortgages. Now, everything is done physically. It's taken down there, it's stamped, it's recorded. But it takes it a while to get online, where it's public, where it's available to the public. Dorchester and Berkeley County do electronic recordings, and I think it's time for Charleston County to sort of fall in line with them. So as I said, I'm an outside user. I've seen the strengths and weaknesses. I would love to have the opportunity to serve as your next Register of Deeds, to do what I can to, sorry, with the beeping and you talking, it's kind of distracting.
Questions, please?
I use the Register of Deeds office a good bit.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was just wondering, you were talking about maybe electronic filing of deeds and things like that. Have you thought of any other specific things that should be changed? I mean, do you have any plans to make?
Well, one thing for sure is we would like to look at the electronic file. We would like to look at electronic payments. Another thing that we would like, and they are currently doing with the RMC, but we'd like to see if we could speed the process up or get some more recording of the documents. Right now, I think it's 19 documents before 1996 are not available online. When properties transfer or when lenders do mortgage, certain lenders have different regulations on what they want their title abstractors to do. Some do a 30-year search, a 40-year search, a 50-year search. Well, if you're going back before 1996, you're going to have to get in your car and you're going to have to drive down to the RMC office to physically pull those records. I would like to try and expand it at a year at a time as much as we can, so we can get back to at least having 50 years or 40 years online. It would allow people to access the office more from their homes or from their computers, not physically have to go down to the office. Another thing, since you've asked, I'll get into some of the technical things. There's no connectivity between the assessor's office, the auditor's office, and the RMC office. When I'm doing appraisals and I'm having to search deeds or I'm having to search comparable sales, I'm going to the assessor's office, I'm pulling up the tax records. Well, the tax records are going to give you a deed reference. The tax records are going to give you a plat reference. Well, you better have a pad, you better have a pen, because you're going to have to write all that down. You're going to have to back out of the assessor site, then you're going to have to go into the RMC site. Why can't we just click? It's there. Show it to me, click. I realize that those are things I'm going to have to take up with the IT department. Of course, I'm sure I'll have to go before council to have them appropriate funds to me to do the things that I want to do. But there's just little things like that, but those things save people time, and time is money. And I want to make it a better office. I want to make it people's office where it's easily accessible, where your records, you know your records are safe, you know your records are accessible, and I just want to make it better for Charleston County. Yes, sir.
Would that enable you to assist with determining heirs properties, like Judge Condon spoke earlier about, being able to go further back to get a clear understanding of who the property owner is?
By having accurate records, you would be able to see who the owner is. How it would relate directly to the heirs, I really can't answer you. You kind of stumped me on that question.
And I don't mean to throw something
No,
out
no,
there,
no.
but would it be helpful with Judge Condon's office as far as dealing with heirs properties and probate and that sort of thing? Who's entitled to the property? Would your office be able to help with that process?
The office, the RMC, sorry, I still call it RMC, it was changed to Register of Deeds just within the last year when Mr. Librand retired. The Register of Deeds office is not allowed to give legal advice. We wouldn't be able to tell you what you could do with the property. But they are allowed to turn you in the direction of proper resources. They can give you the names, numbers, and the contact information of the resources that can assist you with your property.
And in no way that I say y'all were doing legal work, but you could go back further to determine original ownership of the property.
Well, yeah, and those records are there. I mean, there's records going back to the late 1600s. And Charleston's 1724s.
Certainly not electronic.
Correct. You're correct, exactly. But those records are there, and those records are accessible.
And what your proposal is to make that all available way back.
I don't know if we're gonna be able to go that far back. But just
50 years.
Yeah, we'd like to try and go back. Yes. And if we can add more, I would love to add all the years. I know the older deeds, I love looking at them. Those old plats and those old handwritten deeds, and even those old King's grants are very impressive to see. Yes, sir.
Yeah, from a practical standpoint though, those deeds from the 1600s can't be very handled.
Correct.
Okay, correct. Well, sooner or later, you're gonna scan that stuff into something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And they are actually, if you go onto the Charleston County website, and you can go into the Register of Deeds office, if you go into the archives, they are actually doing a lot of those older deeds just for the historical purposes of that. They're trying to preserve those, they're spending time preserving those and recording the new deeds when I would like to try and find some time to do within the last 50 years. But they are doing everything they can to digitize those older records and be able to be copies.
So is most of the transactions by title companies going through that system?
You mean through
the registering of the deeds and that?
The title, well, you have title abstractors that go in and search the background of the title. Once they have come up with if they say it's a clear title, they pass that on to your closing attorney, or the attorney that's handling the business. If everything's clear, then they're able to write a title policy on that.
And back to my original part, is your office going to be able to do that?
To do
the title search in your office?
To
register those deeds from 50 years back.
I can't do a title search for you. If you are doing a sale, you would need to come in, or your abstractor would need to come in. As I said, they've got electronic deeds and electronic information going back to the mid-1990s. Anything prior to that is either in the physical books or on the microfilm and microfiche.
And that information is provided to y'all by a legitimate source. Y'all record those deeds and they become published.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That was kind of
Sorry, I was a little confused on the question.
Yes, it was. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
Anyone else?
We appreciate all of you for coming and telling us about you and what you're there for. And we look forward and wish you all well on November 7th. Thank you.
November 6th, not 7th. November 6th.